The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And today I have with me Pastor Kevin Angel as we're going over his message from this past Sunday. We're continuing in our Summer Psalm series. And Pastor Kevin, this has got to be actually his second go-around in the Psalm series. Yes. So welcome in.
Thank you.
Now, we know that, as we've heard from everyone, that you got to pick whatever psalm you wanted, although there were some that Rob reserved for himself at first.
There may have been some cherry picking. Yes. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
And for those that don't know, remind us which one you did the first time.
Oh man, you're going to challenge my thinking here.
I can find it if you need me to. You can go to shepnaz.org/media. And if you look there, you'll find
I could tell you
all of the Summer Psalm
We talked
series.
about the providential care of God.
It wasn't meant to be a trick. It really wasn't.
Psalm 121.
Okay, there it is. And then you have picked on another psalm.
Yes.
So tell us where we landed for the second one.
We landed in Psalm 133.
Okay.
And this is a relatively short psalm, Psalm of David, beautiful psalm that talks about unity. We probably talk a lot about unity in our culture. We talk about maybe how we're more disunified. And as I read it and listening to the words of David and speaking of the beauty of unity, I thought, well, this feels like an appropriate psalm to spend a little bit of time in. So that's why I picked it.
Nice. And we're going to talk about this both today and in tomorrow's episode, but it's not a real long psalm,
nope.
But there's a lot in it.
There is a lot in
a short period. So I was wondering, maybe we would kind of dive into it. Do you want to read it or you want me to read it?
Sure. Let's see.
Well, that was a choice.
So Natalie mentioned last week that she was voluntold. So you're not voluntelling me. You're
I'm just, me. It's genuine.
I said this is a genuine option.
Yeah.
I'll read it.
Okay.
So Psalm 133, and I'm going to read today from the New Living Translation. Sunday I read from the NIV. How wonderful and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony. For harmony is precious as the anointing oil that was poured over Aaron's head, that ran down his beard and onto the border of his robe. Harmony is as refreshing as the dew from Mount Hermon that falls on the mountains of Zion, and there the Lord has pronounced his blessing, even life everlasting.
All right. And as some of the Psalms are, and a good chunk of them are, this is a Psalm of David, right?
Correct. Yes.
And kind of, is this another one of those Psalms of ascent like your previous one?
It is. It is.
See, I was paying attention.
You were paying attention. Nicely done. Yes, this is another Psalm of ascent. And that ascent, speaking of ascending up to Jerusalem, worshipers would have sung it together. They would have responded together. So a song of praise, a song of worshiping, if you will, acknowledging the Lord, and David echoing the significance of when we are harmonious and what that looks like. And as I said, we live in a time, and when I say things like this, I think everybody has said this in every season of the history of humanity.
Sure.
But it feels like we live in a time where we are so disunified, and there's so much disagreement, divergence of opinion, different point of views, but even to the point of we're drawing lines in the sand. And so because we don't agree, we can't be friends. So I'm going to Facebook block you, or I'm going to unfriend you, or, well, if you believe those things, then, you're the enemy. You're on the opposite side of things. And maybe we feel that more because social media has made that kind of stuff feel more real. But I have a sneaking suspicion that in recorded history, when I say we, humans and even believers have not always done well when there's a difference of opinion. And David talked about it's beautiful when we live in harmony together. And I just think there's something to be said about that. We can divide a room real quick with a simple statement or a simple observation. I said it Sunday. If I were to say that I think Chick-fil-A is overhyped and it's overpriced, and that Popeyes has a better chicken sandwich, half the room fell out because, who's this apostate who would dare speak against the Lord's chicken?
Right.
And so we don't always do well having conversation when there's a difference of opinion. And I'm reminded, as I said Sunday, of the prophet Isaiah. So he's speaking to Judah, who's kind of gotten out of sorts. And he's speaking this word from the Lord. And he said, "Come, let us reason together. Come, let us reason together." And let's settle this. Let's talk this through. Let's be adults about it, if you will. Let's come and actually walk through without tying our emotions so tightly to something that we have to draw lines in the sand that you can't possibly, we can't come together because we don't agree. And it requires some critical thinking. It requires some differentiating between my personal feeling about something versus something that is a foundational kind of a truth kind of a thing. And so we get triggered by things, we get upset about things, and even in the church, we miss the opportunities to come together. Phineas Brzee was the founder of the Church of the Nazarene. He's known to be the father of the Church of the Nazarene, and he had something he said like 120 some years ago when the various groups came together to form the Church of the Nazarene, and he kind of was echoing the voice of John Wesley when he said, in essentials, unity, in non-essentials, liberty, and in all things, charity. So, we don't just get to deny somebody's faith. We don't get to just say, well, they can't possibly be. They're wrong and they're so far off that we just cut them off. That there are things that are essential. There are the core things of our faith. There are the creeds. We believe in the Trinity and the divinity of Jesus and the resurrection. Those are things that are essential. And sometimes we have things that we want to make essential that is probably more our personal preference over whether I like Popeyes or Chick-fil-A.
Right. Well, and I think one of the things that sticks out to me just in this first verse,
yes,
is and I think in the NLT it said brothers, and really it's talking about the family of God,
yes,
the believers.
Yes.
And when we're talking about having unity, that's not necessarily speaking to the idea of like we just water everything down to get along with the world.
Right.
Because this verse isn't even really talking about the world.
Nope.
It's talking about the family.
Right.
And I just think it stuck out to me when David says, "Isn't it great when this happens?"
Right. As if it doesn't happen often enough.
Like, isn't it great when we're all getting along? And he's speaking about the family of God.
Exactly. Exactly.
So maybe if you would talk a little bit about that, like the difference between, not being in conflict with the world. We're not talking about that, but like this is inside the body.
Right. Right. In fact, the word there in the Hebrew speaks to kin. So it's very much like the series through Ruth when Pastor Rob talked about the kinsman redeemer. It's the same same word there, translated as brother, but it speaks to family, the immediacy, the intimacy that is there. And so David's talking about kingdom people, God's people, us. Sometimes we expect the world to live up to our standards, or we expect them to live. That's the world. They're not a part of the kingdom. And David said, I'm not worried so much about how they respond, but as we do together, we're of the same family. And sometimes families live in different homes and live in different areas, so that might mean different denominations even, but we're still part of this family. And he said, we should be demonstrating to the world how you get along even when you don't agree on some things. And that's that unity of coming together. And it's, for us, it's the unity of the Spirit of Christ who dwells within us. That's what unifies us. That's the unifying significance of God living in us. But we've been grafted into this family. And so act like you love each other.
Yeah, in my mind's eye, I'm thinking of this Psalm of Ascent and thinking about how they're all coming up together and walking along and singing this, and I can almost see David kind of cheerleading along, like, isn't it great when we all get along? And I mean, that's the first verse of the Psalm.
As if a couple miles back everyone was grumbling,
right?
And now he's saying, isn't it great when we get along, and that unity doesn't mean uniformity.
Yeah,
because there's diversity. Good grief! In my family, with Sue Ann and our 4 kids, there's 6 of us. I can't remember the few times that we all agreed on something. There's always a dissenting voice, whether it's where you're going to go to eat, where you're going to do whatever. Good grief, if we sit down to watch a movie as a family, we spend 2 hours scrolling through all the streaming device accounts until we find something, and then it's too late to watch anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yes.
Like, let's find something we can all agree that we want to watch, and now it's too late to start it.
Now it's too late. Yep.
Put that on the watch list, and then next time nobody will be in the mood to watch it anyhow. So.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right.
Well, speak a little bit to that as far as when we're living in harmony, that we're not just all, brainwashed to have the same likes and dislikes. Like, what does that look like in the healthy family of God?
Right. I think the difference between unity and uniformity, unity having a common agreement with one another, of moving in the same direction, where uniformity is just kind of whitewashed, if you will. If you wear a uniform, that's uniformity. We want everyone to look the same. So there's no diversity in that. If you play baseball for the New York Yankees, George Steinbrenner would make me shave this. You can't have this. There's no room for individualism at all. We want it to have this uniform aspect. So that means there can't be a dissenting voice, or there can't be a differencing of an opinion about some things. We want to hear the same thing that's coming out, and that is forced. That's coerced. That's not evidence of love as much as unity is coming together. And in spite of some of the differencing of opinion, there's that the beauty of working in concert together, if you will, and bringing the things that are different about us, or the way that we think about something that's differently, to make them work together to actually bring about something more beautiful, maybe, than if we just said, no, everybody's got to fit into this little box.
Right, because otherwise, as you had said in your message about stifling creativity, and,
right,
not really getting the full picture of what God has in mind by only, listening to this one single loud voice, as opposed to hearing the collection of all the voices.
Right. And, we're trying to get from point A to point B, and there might be multiple ways to get there. Mm-hmm. Well, if we're all if there has to be uniformity, then there's just one way to accomplish that. Well, that's not true. Your trip from home to here, you probably could take multiple ways. And maybe you take multiple ways depending on your mood, the weather, the traffic patterns,
or whatever road they decide to close that day.
Right, whatever road is closed that day. This is true. But they're still getting you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we listen to the voices that can offer, well, this is a better pattern at this time of day. This is maybe not the best example, but being unified in this is where we're going. This is who we've been called to be. And we need to think, let's reason together. Let's think this through. Let's talk it out and discover, okay, this makes good sense. So that's not stifling, that's uplifting and embracing a different point of view even sometimes.
I'm going to kind of wrap up for today. While you were talking, it really made me think of a passage in Corinthians talking about the body of Christ.
Yes.
And I'm just going to read a couple verses from that. The eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, it's just the opposite. The parts of the body that seem to be weaker are the ones that we can't do without. The parts that we think are less important we treat with special honor. The private parts aren't shown, but they are treated with special care. The parts that can be shown don't need special care, but God has put together all the parts of the body, and he has given more honor to the parts that didn't have any. In that way, the parts of the body will not take sides. All of them will take care of one another. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part shares in its joy. You are the body of Christ. Each one of you is a part of it.
Yes.
And it's realizing that we've all been given a little bit different perspective, a little bit different duty, but we can come together in harmony.
Right.
All right, well, we will continue this conversation tomorrow, and we're going to get into kind of those verses 2 and 3 where it starts talking about Aaron and oil, and we'll figure out what all that
sounds
means
pretty messy.
tomorrow. In the meantime, you can go to shepnaz.org and check out everything that's going on in the church. We also encourage you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Pastor Kevin, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.